Now with the Impact segment, the foreign policy debate tonight and how the candidates should handle Libya. Joining us now from Boca Raton, Florida, the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, General Wesley Clarke, who's now a national security advisor to the Obama campaign. Have they asked you for advice on Libya and how to handle it, General?
Bill, I think the simple answer on Libya is this. No president has ever been able to prevent bad things from happening somewhere around the world to Americans. Ronald Reagan lost 280 Marines when the Marine barracks in Beirut were bombed. George H. Bush stood by while Kuwait was invaded by Saddam Hussein. George W. Bush had 9/11 happen on his watch. Bad things happen to a country even when a good guy is president.
All right, but I don't know if that's
the
in
first
play,
thing. Okay,
though.
now just a second.
Wait,
General. Let me finish my point.
Wait a minute.
The question is not, did something bad happen? The question is, what does the commander-in-chief do about it? Let me tell you what Barack Obama has done about this. Number one, he immediately strengthened diplomatic security everywhere that our embassies could possibly be in danger. Number two, he reinforced with military to back up the diplomatic security. Number three, he called the heads of state of these countries and emphasized their responsibility. Number four, he put in motion a plan to go get the guys that did this and bring them to justice.
Right,
and number
but anybody
five,
would have done that.
He put in place an not anybody would have done that.
James Buchanan would have done that, all right?
He did it, and a good leader did it.
Anybody would have done what you said. Wait a minute, General, calm down.
You're talking about the fluff, Bill.
General.
I'm plenty calm.
General, calm.
You're not letting me finish my point.
That's because your point is too long. This isn't a telethon. You're going to abide by the same rules that everybody else abides by.
You're going to
now listen.
I told you.
Here's the crux of the matter, General. It's not about protecting Americans. You're right. It's impossible to do that all over the world. And it's not about reaction after. It's about an explanation, straightforward, about what happened. The president has not given it in a month and a half. Would you advise the president to do it tonight when he has the opportunity to tell the American people exactly what happened?
Well, Bill, I think the president ought to go through the process and find out what happened. Let me give you an example. After 9/11, the Democrats pulled together with Republicans. They did not take or attempt to take partisan political advantage over one of the greatest disasters ever to befall the United States. They could have. After all, a Republican was the commander-in-chief. He was on vacation during the time. He didn't read, but none of that came out at the time. Democrats
they let him
didn't
have it for his reaction in Tampa.
Democrats
they did.
Didn't go after partisan political advantage. In
Wait
fact,
a minute, General. You're revising history. You remember when the president was in the classroom in Florida when he got the word from Andrew Card and didn't immediately then and kept reading. He got hammered by the left. You remember that. So come on, no spin zone here tonight.
He gave a statement, a joint statement to Congress, and Democrats and Republicans fully supported him. And the investigation to find out what happened took 4 years. 4 years,
Bill.
Bill.
Don't you think we should have a progress report on why there was so much misinformation coming from the White House and the UN ambassador? Don't you think that's worthy?
Maybe there should be, but, that's not the key issue.
Maybe there should be?
Yes, because,
we live in a free society. I think there has to be.
You think Libya is the key issue in this election?
I think it's going to look. It's hurting your guy.
You'd like it. You might like it to be the key issue.
No, I don't care about it one way or the other. I wish it never happened.
I think you want it to be the key issue.
No, that's bull.
Let me tell you something.
What I want is I want to know what happened. That's what I want.
What I want is I want the American people to look at the big picture and make a wise decision on who could be the best commander-in-chief.
Don't you think this Libya issue is hurting your guy?
Your premise. I'm not talking about the horse race. I'm talking about what's good for America.
Okay, but we got to get to the debate. You're an advisor, a foreign policy advisor. Don't you see that this is hurting your guy, the way it's being handled?
I think that President Obama has done a great job as commander-in-chief, and I think when you lay it in the right frame, the American people see it too. Look, Bill, if you go back and look at the big picture, getting out of Iraq, taking Osama bin Laden, having a plan for Afghanistan, rebuilding our alliances, and compare it to what President Obama faced with when he came into office, and Mitt Romney hasn't given us a single plan, not on Iraq, not on Afghanistan, not on terrorism. Instead, he's tried to take political partisan advantage of something that should have been used to bring the country together.
All right, General.
I think that's a really sad response.
We appreciate your point of view. Thank you. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Time magazine columnist says Libya is no big deal. Kind of agrees with the general. That seems to be the new mantra from the left-wing press anyway. Juan and Mary Catherine will analyze.